back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more crime story. Right now we're talking about Season 1, Episode 9. So that makes only, 43 episodes, so 34, 35 left. Seems like a lot, but not in a bad way. This is called Justice Hits the Skids. Full spoilers if you have not seen this episode, which pretty much is everybody, except maybe everybody except for me and Quentin Tarantino. So anyway, this is a kind of a compact episode where it's about Suzanne Terry, the events that affect her, and it's all about character in this one. We really don't get too much further story development with the Ray Luca case. There's just a bunch of little character details in this, mostly with Mike, who's really a powder keg ready to explode, which is pretty much every episode. But it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and how this affects the people around him, and also Abrams and Suzanne Terry's relationship, and how race is involved in their relationship. She gets assaulted in this episode, and how that affects their relationship because of who assaults her and the story that she's involved in. But it also affects how Abrams is developed as a character by the end of this, and like the strain of being a good person and a good lawyer, and not trying to overshadow his family's history of violence in mobster related stuff. So in that respect, it's pretty good. There's a few moments with, the regular mobster story, and then Ray Sharkey's Justice Department guy shows up as well to cause more problems. But the heart of this story is Suzanne looking into heroin coming into Chicago, which has immediate, results, I should say, immediate consequences. So we start the episode here with Mike visiting the crime scene. It's kind of funny because it's just an outline of where he landed. And, Mike imagining how he came out. That just happens to look like the episode of when he flew out the window. And he's even, they even show a flashback of him talking to Ray Luca about what he should have done, but Mike was never privy to those events. So why are they showing them to us when it's supposed to be Mike thinking things? He's imagining, I guess, he got really accurate at what happened or the conversation that led to his death, which is a little silly. But another cool thing about this, though, is them in Wrigley Field. They got the shoot there. Now I know for sure that's where they were at, because you see the ivy. So this is like 1986 Wrigley Field, man. I've only been there a couple of times, to be honest with you, and they were both in the 1980s. They used to throw balls to each other there, and he's remembering their conversation about what he's into. He goes back to where they grew up. He sees their names carved into the mailbox there. So he's taking this really hard, and he even doesn't show up for the funeral. All the people are looking around. Where is he? Julie's there, but she doesn't know where he is. Everybody's starting to see it now. Everybody's seeing that Mike is really fucked up. He really is. And, with everything besides his marriage going on, now his friend's dead. He's got the Justice Department breathing down his neck. Ray Luca is taunting him. Holman is on the lam still. It's a lot. So we get to Bartoli's restaurant. Phil, played by John Polito, who's fantastic as always. His managerial skills in restaurant business. This guy complains about his steak, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have it fixed for you." And then he tells the waiter, "Go back in there, just reheat it a little bit. If he complains, I don't know, assault his wife." Basically, is what he says. Attack his wife. Holy God! So him and Ray's there. Him and Ray have a little sit down, and they get to play a game of who knows whose secrets. And I'm gonna pause this because they're playing ads on these. Remember, I'm watching this on Vudu now. Alright, so Phil and Ray are playing, like I said, a game of who's secrets. Both of them are hiding things from Manny Weisbord, their boss. So Phil is Ray's boss, and Manny is Phil's boss, and they're both hiding things from him. Phil knows about Ray's safe that he broke into with Polly. And Ray's like, oh, there was nothing in there. Sorry. But hey, how's that thing going with Johnny Fozzie in Vegas? So they both have their lay their cards out on the table, basically. That they both are into stuff that if Manny found out, he'd want their take. So it's kind of like a standoff. Like, you tell on me, I tell on you, we both get in trouble. But then guess who shows up? Mike shows up at the restaurant. The maitre d' tries to stop him. He gets punched in the stomach. And then he goes to confront them, right? But it's really more of like to stand there and go, I know what you did. I know what you did. But the maitre d' comes again at him. And this time, I'm telling you, man, this stuntman really took a hit because Mike grabs the maitre d' and slams him through a table. Now, I know that these are like breakaway furniture, but I mean, like Dennis Farina really goes for it in this scene. He crushes this guy through there and then leaves, which leaves Phil going, yeah, this guy's going to be a problem. And Ray's like, oh, he's nothing, right? Because of course he's saying that. But Phil's like, I think you're wrong about this. Did you look into that guy's eyes? He's dangerous. So at least Phil understands Mike's not fucking around. Julie finds Mike at the MCU. So weird saying the MCU. The Metropolitan Crime Unit, I think is what it's called. She tries to comfort him, but I mean, he doesn't really want to see her right now either. He's hurting. But here's the thing. He's like, holding towards his wife, but he's banging Inga Thornton. This kind of hypocrisy that these men have. That Madonna and the whore kind of thing, that the mentality of the wife and the mistress crap. Just such a load, that alpha male bull crap. And this is where Abrams and Suzanne Terry's part of the story kicks in, where they're having dinner, or trying to have dinner. They haven't even gotten their menus yet. And they're confronted by the waiter who, there are customers that are offended by them being there. And Abrams is adamant that unless you want to be sued, you've got to feed us. And even Suzanne is kind of embarrassed. Like, she just wants to get out of there. She's not comfortable. They don't want us here. I don't want to be here. They should be able to eat there. Kind of like how Julie feels when Mike kind of went off on the furniture guys. Like, these men are standing up for themselves, but they're doing it in a way that makes everybody uncomfortable. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't stand up for their rights. It's just there comes to a point where, is it worth it? This little victory. And I think for Suzanne's character, she really doesn't feel like it's worth it to sit there and force an issue, for the greater good. She also mentions that she's working on a story for her paper on heroin, Mexican brown, as they put it. And now it's flooding the streets, and she's going to look into where it's going. And Abrams doesn't really blink an eye about that. He's more concerned about the social injustice he's facing. Look at that. He really threw him into that. So she out on the streets of Chicago, the South Side, right? And she's talking to prostitutes, and she's immediately clocked. She's immediately clocked by like 3 guys going, who's this chick, She's talking to the prostitutes about where do you get your, heroin, what kind of heroin is it? She gets she pays a prostitute to sit down with her and have lunch, and they have this discussion about what heroin does to you. And it's nothing you haven't heard before, how it ruins, like you have a kid, not there for it. I mean, she's very forthcoming. I get the shakes and all this stuff. Well, this attention that's brought on this, she's immediately, as soon as she leaves the bar with this girl, the girl dips and she's assaulted hard. Like, this is the woman who played Foxy Brown, everybody, and she's having to, just get beat down in the street, dragged into an alley, and I'm thinking, oh, God. This is where they're going to just they're not going to just assault her, they might rape and kill her. And then, by the way that they cut to black on it, I was like, ooh, woof. But it turns out they beat her really bad and they put her in the hospital. They don't say, again, in fact, they ask about, was she sexually assaulted? And nobody really knows yet. And only Suzanne knows. They don't ever answer that question, and honestly, it kind of feels like they did. but they just haven't mentioned it. Um, oh, I mean, they even know about her because and Abrams because they say this is for you and that white boyfriend. So apparently, I don't know how they know, but apparently they know maybe from newspapers that maybe that's really weird. I don't know how these people would know that her and Abrams are a thing. They're not announcing themselves to the south side of Chicago, and unless these guys are reading the, like the, what section of the paper would be talking about a mixed race couple, a lawyer and a reporter? I don't know. These guys don't look. Let me just put it to you like this: these guys didn't seem like they read too many newspapers. Um, Mike is then told to focus on Holman by his captain, and you know, basically he's being told that you're a bomb ready to go off, man, and I have to deal with the politicians and the press. Who do you think pays your paychecks? Who signs the paychecks? If you got to keep yourself in line, go after Holman. Don't worry about Suzanne Terry. We have other people dealing with it. But yeah, you know how that's going to go. So they need to find out. They're trying to find out where all the people in this area are getting money for all this heroin because it's a dump. There's a lot of drugs coming in here. Where are they getting it? How are these people being able to afford to buy it, to sell it? So they start looking around for all the local businesses. And this is another good way that they show, maybe it's padding, maybe they're padding out the episode a little bit here, but they show them canvassing. Actually doing legwork, doing cop work, instead of just moving from action scene to action scene or interrogation scene, big moment there. No, they show these guys out checking out leads. And while that might be boring to some people, I like that it gives it legitimacy. It makes it feel more real, that not every moment of a cop's life is like a regular TV show. So they're going around clothing areas to see who's like maybe, like, not, what's the word? When they're laundering money. That's what I was first thinking. But, Abrams, meanwhile, goes looking for trouble himself. Goes to a local bar, right? Now, this was also kind of funny because this is like an African American establishment. So you'd think that the guy behind the counter would be an African American telling him, "Hey, are you sure you want to be in this bar?" But it's a white guy. It's a white guy behind the bar of an African American South Side bar. Now, maybe I'm sure there are. They like that show Shameless has that one dude, Kevin, that runs the bar. But that bar's full of white people, okay? And so him saying, "Hey, are you sure you're this thirsty? You want to be in here?" And I'm like, this don't feel right. Well, he gets his ass handed to him by these guys because they don't want to answer questions either. So now he's got his butt kicked. And this pretty much kind of has their relationship hit the skids. Where she's hurt now in the hospital. He's been beat up now. He's in the hospital. Not like under care, but he took some punches, right? And they basically have to kind of decide that this is kind of over. And it's kind of sucks, I mean, it's again kind of a fast moving thing. Like a lot of events in this show are kind of ramped up for time. So, they're not doing well at all. I think this was it. I think they break up here. Then the Justice Department shows up. Ray Sharkey's character shows up telling Mike that he has to turn over all the evidence on Ray and the whole crime syndicate. And Mike basically says, "Get out of here before I lose my temper." Kind of flashes his gun just a little bit, kind of letting the guy know. I don't know how that works. I think that the Justice Department would have just had, like, guys just forcing their way in. I don't think that the Justice Department just comes in and slinks away like a coward. But whatever. Mike and Inga, Mike and Inga having their affair. It's like a casual affair. They're just chilling out, drinking martinis, drinking to illusions that all of this isn't real. She's going to get married. He'll probably go back to his wife. But meanwhile, they're both having fun with each other. I guess that's something people do. But the MCU do find out that there's $50,000 that has been stolen from a clothing store that wasn't all reported. And so they check into that and they find the people involved in that robbery, and she's able to ID one of the guys. So that leads them to where they need to go. The guys from the beginning, they're holed up in this like little warehouse, like furniture warehouse. It's all run down, and they took that money from the robbery to fund getting a bunch of brown Mexican brown heroin that's flooding the streets of the ghettos. Um, and they go into this bar, right? They raid this bar for information because they get one of them that was in the robbery. And right now, that guy is. Now, I don't know if he just dresses up as a woman to uh, roll Johns, because that's what he's accused of, that he mugs men that think he's a woman, or if this is a real trans character. Now, this would not fly today because of the kind of political correctness attached to it. And especially, this scene is very dark because Mike almost seems like a criminal when he goes into this bar and kind of is intimidating the people there. The extras legit look scared. If I didn't know any better, I would think I was watching an actual raid on a bar. And he's being very antagonistic to these customers that haven't done anything. Now, that you could chalk that up to the problems that Mike is having, but this really looks bad. Like, as this was 96. This was 33 years ago. So you can get away with a lot more, but man, I do not think a lot of things would fly today, like showing this. I mean, it's real, right? The brutality is real. Like I said, these cops are really, they feel like they're from the time that they're in, which means that they're not always going to be pictured in the best light. And Mike is not pictured in the best light here, attacking these people, antagonizing them, and then kind of giving roughing up this possible transsexual character. Now, I'm not going to get on my social justice warrior soapbox kind of thing, but I'm just saying that's like, you watch that now, and it was kind of like, oof. Ooh. So he gets this guy to talk, and that's where it leads them to where they need to go. And they take this place down. I mean, they take this place down. This was like LA Confidential when they go after the guys from the Night Owl robbery that escaped. They pretty much mow these guys down. Now, and I mean, they mow them down. Like, boom, boom, boom. Now, they all had guns in their hands, but it just felt like they weren't even trying to take prisoners. Here's another commercial. All right, back from commercial. So, yeah, they gun all these dudes down. And, again, it's old school mob. Like, they're not even fighting the mob, but this is like old school cop stuff. They just go in firing, guns blazing. The last guy, the leader type, takes a hostage and says, "I'm just gonna get out of here, man. Nobody has to get killed, Just let me go and everything's gonna be fine." As he's got the gun to the girl's side. And Mike says, "Sure. And I'm like, oh God. Like, this is bad. Like, textbook is that, you don't risk a hostage's life. You can always let this guy go and try to get him later. But he just, from the hip, just shoots this guy. He could have blown her in half. And I don't mean Mike, he could have accidentally hit her the way he fired. But he shoots this guy, and the way he stands over him, I was waiting for the second shot. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had done a kill shot here. It looked like he really wanted to shoot him in the head. And you can see it in his eyes, what John Polito was talking about earlier, that he's dangerous. He's a danger, and his captain sees it. He's a dangerous man right now, and it's not in a good way, which makes this character even more compelling, and Dennis Farina's portrayal of him even more like, you just don't get away with this kind of character anymore. They don't write cops like this anymore. At least not for television anyway. Or network television anyway. And so the episode ends with Stephen Lang's Abrams here going in, getting called in to defend somebody in as the public defender. And the guy's like, hey, I'm going to be your lawyer. And he sees what he's in there for. And he's there for the assault on Suzanne. And so, yeah, conflict of interest, right? And then you see him, he pulls out a gun and shoots the guy. But it's a fantasy. And the guy's like, hey man, you gonna help me or what? He's like, yeah, of course I am. It's my job. Abrams for the defense. Giving a call back to that episode called Abrams for the defense. But he's sweating, man. He's literally sweating like he's ready to explode too. So Abrams, this good lawyer, is now being, pulled down into that dark side with all this stuff that's happening. So both him and Mike are both a couple of powder kegs ready to go off. And that's the end of the episode. And this was kind of like, it wasn't as memorable as some of the other ones. It doesn't have big guest stars or anything like that, but it's still kind of an interesting story, and it develops our characters a lot more. So in that respect, I really like it. And again, it's just a tour de force of like Stephen Lang and Dennis Farina and John Polito as always. So that's all. We'll be back next week with episode 10. I had the name of the episode in my head, but I can't remember it now. So if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, share these videos. I really would like to get more of the word out on them, but those of you that do like it, I hope you're enjoying these little deep dives. And again, if you want to watch the show, I'm encouraging you to watch this show. It's on Vudu. You can watch it for free with ads. If you really want to get a taste of old school TV cop shows that they don't make like this anymore. This isn't just your usual crap procedural. This has one big story going throughout it, just with little bits in between. So anyway, like this was doing mythology episodes before there were a lot of mythology episodes on TV. So this is Rob saying you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. If you feel so inclined, you can donate to my channel and help make it better by going to my PayPal at paypal.me/smirkingunreviews. I think I'm going to go in for that coffee stuff. I'm going to try looking into that as well. So have a great day. We will see you next Thursday for more Crime Story. Bye.